Hey there, one of my all-time favorite ways to meal prep is actually for breakfast, just because in the morning time, I don't typically have time to make my family special breakfasts every single morning. So what I like to do is I like to prepare a bunch of meals in advance, stick them in either my refrigerator or my freezer, and then in the morning time, all my family has to do is stick something in the microwave, and then there you go. You have a warm, delicious meal that will leave your family happy and full for hours. So today I'm going to be showing you 5 new recipes. I hope you enjoy it, and let's go get started. To kick us off today, we are making these breakfast sheet pan omelets. So to begin, to this big bowl, I'm going to go ahead and crack about 12 eggs in there. Now that we have all the eggs in the bowl, I added in about a half a cup of milk along with a half a teaspoon of pepper and a teaspoon of salt. Whisk this all together to break all of those yolks. I have my sheet pan here and I lined it with aluminum foil just so the egg doesn't stick to the pan, and now I'm spraying it with plenty of nonstick spray, so that egg doesn't stick. Then I added about 2 tablespoons of butter, and then I brushed the butter onto the pan just so it was evenly distributed. Next I'm going to be adding about 1/3 cup of cooked crumbled bacon. I just used these bacon bits, but you could use sausage or really whatever type of meat you like, or even ham. Next, I added in 1/3 cup of shredded sharp cheddar cheese and then 1 bell pepper that I diced. You could also make these veggie if you didn't want to add the meat. I wanted to point that out to you. But lastly, I added a half a cup of fresh spinach that I chopped. Then I poured the egg mixture over the top. I spread the egg mixture out as even as possible. Then this baked in my preheated oven to 350 degrees for about 20 minutes or until the egg has set. Here's what it looks like out of the oven. I did let the egg completely cool down so it's no longer hot at this point. I removed it from my sheet pan, and now I'm going to cut the egg omelet into kind of like individual pieces. So you could cut these into however big or however small you want them for the morning. And I did cut them with a pizza cutter just, because it makes it a little bit easier. And here's what it looks like. Now to store it, I like to store them in a big gallon size freezer bag just like this. I make sure to label the bag, and in between each of the egg omelet pieces I like to place a sheet of wax paper. This is to make sure that the egg pieces don't stick to each other in the freezer. Here's what they look like ready to go in my freezer. I do want to let you know these will last in your fridge for about 3 to 4 days, but if you do keep them in your freezer, they'll last for up to 4 months. And here's what they look like once they are frozen. I just take one out and I remove the wax paper from the back. Then I place it onto a plate and I stick it in the microwave for about a minute or until the egg has completely warmed up. Then there you go. You have an easy, delicious breakfast to enjoy. Now we're making these mini French toast cup bites. So to begin, I have a loaf of French bread right here. I'm only going to be using about 1/4 of this loaf of bread for this recipe. You could always double or half this recipe if you want more or less, but I'm just cutting the bread into smaller cubes right now. To start on the filling, in this bowl I cracked about 6 eggs in there. Next I'm adding 1 cup of milk. I used regular milk, or you could use almond milk, whatever you prefer. Then I added in 2 tablespoons of maple syrup, a teaspoon of cinnamon, and a teaspoon of vanilla extract. Give this a really good whisk. I have my 12 muffin tin right here. I sprayed it generously with nonstick spray just so nothing stuck. But I added our bread pieces right into my muffin tin and I made sure to fill them up. This is optional, but I really love doing this. In between each of the bread pieces, I like to add some fresh fruit. Today I'm doing blueberries, or you could do sliced strawberries, or really whatever you'd like. But after you're through adding your fruit, you're going to pour the egg mixture that we made up earlier into each of the cups. Make sure that each of the bread pieces kind of gets coated in the egg mixture. If you need to, press the bread pieces down after you pour the egg mixture in. This will bake in a preheated oven to 350 degrees for about 25 to 30 minutes or until the egg has set and they're cooked through. Here's what they look like out of the oven, and once they were completely cooled down, I stuck them in a freezer bag and I labeled the bag. These are great refrigerated, or you could stick them in your freezer. To warm them up, we like to just put them in the microwave and then put some maple syrup on the top once they're nice and warm. I've really been on a burrito bowl kick recently, so now we're making these simple burrito bowls. I have about 1.5 pounds of little yellow potatoes right here. I cut them into bite-sized pieces, and now I have my onion that I diced. I brought the onion and the potatoes over to this large bowl, and I added them right in there. Next, you're going to be adding your 3 tablespoons of olive oil to the bowl, along with your seasonings. A teaspoon of salt, 1/2 teaspoon of pepper, a teaspoon of garlic powder, a teaspoon of paprika, and a 1/2 teaspoon of oregano. All of these seasonings will give these potatoes great flavor. I gave this a stir, and then I pulled out my sheet pan. I do have my sheet pan lined with parchment paper. I added those potatoes on the sheet pan, spread them out. This baked on 425 degrees for about 30 to 45 minutes or until they're fork tender. While our potatoes are baking away, we're going to start on the eggs. I have about 15 eggs in this bowl. Then I added 1/3 cup of milk and 1/3 cup of salsa, and then a teaspoon of salt and a 1/2 teaspoon of pepper. I gave this a whisk. I do want to let you know the salsa is optional, but I do think the salsa gives these eggs extra great flavor, so it's just my opinion. But over to my stove, I sprayed it with some oil spray. Once it was hot, I added the egg in there, and then I scrambled it up. Once our egg was cooked through, I let it completely cool down. Then I brought it over to my countertop, and I do have my potatoes out of the oven at this point, and they're also completely cooled down, but I have my little Tupperware containers right here. I'm just going to fill them with some of our potatoes that we baked in the oven. I'm also going to be filling them with the egg mixture, and then something else that I'm adding, this is optional, is black beans. We like adding black beans to our breakfast burrito bowls, but of course, like I said, it's optional. Lastly, I added some cheese on top, but you can make these your own. Add any ingredients you like to them or subtract ingredients. Really just do them how you love. These power cookies are a great on-the-go breakfast option. To this big bowl, I added a 1/2 cup of creamy peanut butter. After I added the peanut butter in, I tossed in 2 cups of old-fashioned oats. After the oats, add in 1/3 cup of semi-sweet chocolate chips, or you could add in M&Ms or peanut butter chips, kind of whatever you prefer. Lastly, add in 3 bananas, and then you are going to mix this all together. You'll just want to take scoops of this cookie mixture and place it onto your sheet pan. After that, bake this in a preheated oven to 350 degrees for about 10 to 13 minutes. As you could see, these power cookies hold their shape super duper nicely, and if you're not going to eat them all right away, you could just store them in a freezer bag just like this, or a Tupperware container. I just am placing mine in my baggie clip just like this. I'll have my baggie clip linked in the description box below the video if you want to buy one for yourself. But I zip the bag up, and you could store this in your refrigerator, or if you're not going to eat them within a few days, just stick them in your freezer. The other day I was thinking, wow, I haven't had a breakfast crescent sandwich in a while, so now that's what we're making. To this bowl, I added 8 eggs in there. Next, you're going to be adding a half a cup of milk in, along with a teaspoon of salt and a half a teaspoon of pepper. You could, of course, add other seasonings in if you'd like. I gave this a really good whisk to break the egg yolks. Over to the pan on my stove, I added about 2 tablespoons of butter in there. If you don't want to cook your eggs in butter, you could of course use olive oil or coconut oil, avocado oil, really whatever you want. I added our eggs in there and I'm just scrambling them up until they're nice and fluffy. Once my eggs were cooked, I let them completely cool down. Now I have my 4 butter crescents right here. I just got them from Walmart. I sliced them in half in the center and I'm filling them with the egg mixture. Next, I'm using some Black Forest ham. I put about 2 slices in each of the sandwiches, then a slice of cheddar cheese on top. After I made up all of the sandwiches, I wrapped them in a layer of cling wrap first, and then I wrapped them in a layer of aluminum foil. This helps them last longer in the fridge and the freezer, but these will last in your refrigerator up to 4 days, and then they'll last in your freezer for about 3 months. And then to reheat these, we like to either reheat them in the microwave, or you could reheat them in the air fryer if you want the crescent to be a little bit crispy on top. I hope you found a recipe for yourself today, and I have so many more videos like this on my channel, so make sure you subscribe down below the video so you don't miss any more in the future. I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.